Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. Of course, we've already taken my boy Dokkanfest Super Jeets into the Fighting Legend Vegeta event, which by the way, if you haven't seen that, absolutely dominated. Even on the final phase against ESBR Vegeta, where he has type disadvantage, dominated. That built-in crit, something else. It is something else. His raw damage is insane. So now, of course, we're going to take him into ESBR and see how he does here. As always, if you have been enjoying the content on the channel recently, don't forget to drop a like, and also if you are new, consider hitting that big red subscribe button. All your support is very much appreciated. And yeah, this should be another event where my boy probably more than likely dominates. I'm not gonna lie. You know, purely for the fact I said his raw damage, like his raw damage output is just honestly ridiculous. We'll go for a Whis here rather than the Usher. Yeah, his raw damage output is honestly just, it's insane. I don't think there's many units in the game who don't require some sort of build-up, you know, on their passive or, you know, stacking, like attack and defense. I don't think there's a unit in the game that has just raw dominant output the same way the Dokkanfest Super Vegeta does. Like, not off the top of my head. Obviously, the blatantly obviously ones are like the, you know, some of the best units in the game, like LRUI Goku, for example. But a Dokkanfest that dominates in majority of the harder events in the game, if not all of them, you don't really see that often. Like, you just don't. It just doesn't happen. You know, not without some type of, you know, as I said, kind of build up in their passive, stacking, you know, having damage reduction, those type of things. My boy just does it. You know, it's as simple as that. He just does it. As I said, no build up, nothing like that. He just does it. It literally, it's as simple as that. He just is that good. And I'm not even being biased either. I'm not even being biased. He just is that good. Like, obviously, the icing on top of the cake for me purely is the fact that he is a Vegeta unit. Even more so a Super Vegeta unit, which, if you're a fan of Vegeta, if you're a Vegeta fanboy like I am, you know, the Super Vegeta, you know, final flash moment is just like one of the coldest moments in the whole of Dragon Ball Z that he does. Granted, it takes like 3 episodes for him to do it, which unfortunately the Dokkan doesn't capture well, but I mean, we would be here for a long time if it did take 3 episodes. You know, you're talking like almost a full hour to see a super attack, but, you know, that's just the icing on the cake. If any other unit in the game was this dominant, excuse me, God, I literally tried to talk for a hiccup, and that made me feel like I was going to choke on pure oxygen. Literally. The sheer dominance that this guy has, if there was any other character in Dragon Ball that had the same type of dominance as a Dokkanfest unit, I'd be saying the same right now. Like, there's no bias. As the icing on top of the cake for me is the fact that this is a Vegeta unit that is doing this. Other than that, his sheer raw power and dominance, I don't think many units in the game have this type of just raw, sheer power in the harder events the same way he does. The fact that he has a built-in crit, I actually super attacked the wrong unit with the Super Saiyan GT Vegeta there, which is kind of annoying, but it's a bit late. Is there going to be a super? There's no super attack, so we're okay, we're okay. We've got not a lot of health left. Excuse me, but it's not the worst. It's not the worst. Do you know what? Just in case, to risk you potentially taking a lot of damage at the end there, I see you. I'm going to let Super Vegeta super attack him. You know, just to help you out. But yeah, there's not a lot of units in the game without some type of build-up or stack that can have this raw power that he does. And as I said, it's not biased. If there was another character in the game that had a unit in Dokkan like this, I'd be saying the exact same thing. It's just nice as a Vegeta fan that there is a Dokkanfest TUR that is on this level. That's just extra for me. That's just an extra bonus for me. And anyone else who, of course, is a Vegeta fanboy as well. But you don't see many units in the harder events specifically, you know, your GT Goku event, which we actually haven't taken him in yet, which I still think he'll be okay in, by the way. You know, the harder events like Vegeta event, Goku event, ESBR now. There's not many units in the game that dominate all the harder events as well as he does. You know, the only thing that's kind of lacking for him, if you was to kind of dissect him as a unit, is probably he doesn't have the highest defense. But after he gets both Tashnal's not a word. After you get both additional attack and defenses plus 50%, after, you know, receiving an attack and super attacking, his defense is actually in a pretty decent spot for a unit that doesn't stack defense, doesn't build up defense in his passive, doesn't, you know, have guaranteed guard, not even, like, even a chance to guard. A unit doesn't even have a chance to guard. A unit that doesn't even, you know, have some form of damage reduction. For a unit that has absolutely none of that, his defense, as I said, after all of those, getting both additional attack and defenses plus 50%, is actually just not that bad. It's in a decent spot. It's not amazing, you know, it's like he doesn't have ridiculous amounts of defense, obviously. But it's not bad. It's not bad at all. You know, we've seen it in the Vegeta event, and you're going to be seeing it here. Once he at least gets one of those extra 50% on his attack and defense, he can tank for double digits on a basic. You get both of them off, I mean, you're still going to be tanking for double digits on a basic. But if there's a type advantage unit that even attacks you on a basic, you're still taking double digits, which is impressive. And on a super attack, even on Vegeta event, which again we've seen, and you're probably going to see in the ESBR, like, and especially with the number of enemies that are typically in ESBR, and we know how much damage ESBR units do. Like, it is ridiculous. Again, unless you're one of the more, you know, defensive units in the game. He actually tanks on super after getting those two things, after getting both, you know, attack and defense is plus 50%. He tanks quite well on an ESBR super. I mean, he will do anyway, but we've seen it in Vegeta event. He tanks well on super as well, which not a lot of units can do. Not a lot of units can do at all. You know, he's not tanking for like a couple thousand. You know, 20, 30k on a super after getting both additional attack and defenses plus 50% is still pretty impressive, if I do say so myself. I mean, you could disagree. I don't think there would be many who would disagree, if I'm being honest. But as I said, you still could. I mean, it's your opinion, but I think, you know, the way he tanks after getting those two things kind of checked off, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. Like, and I don't think that's me bigging him up, you know. I know, again, I'm a Vegeta fanboy. He's my favorite character. I don't think that's me bigging him up. I don't think that's me overhyping him. I think that's just generally, you know, how good he actually is. As I said, his dominance, I don't see a lot of units dominate harder events like this. You know, he done so much damage in the Vegeta event, even in the final phase where he has type disadvantage, which, by the way, again, once he super attacks or at least gets one of those additional attack and defenses plus 50%, as long as he has one of those kind of paddings, one of those extra 50%, even against SSB Vegeta with type disadvantage, he still tanked really well on a basic. And then when he has both of them off, taking multiple attacks, he's tanking double digits guaranteed, which again, not many units in the game can do without some form of damage reduction or guard. So again, I don't think I'm overhyping him at all. You might think so, just because again, I am a Vegeta fanboy. But I don't think I am. I generally think this is the truth when talking about this unit. Like, he is just generally that good. Annoyingly, I've super attacked the wrong unit. So I'm hoping, I mean, it should do because Vegeta doesn't have a lot of health left. I'm hoping SSJ3 Vegeta actually kills Vegeta, because I wanted Super Vegeta to super attack hit. Did Vegeta actually survive? No, he didn't. Okay, cool. I was going to say, no way did you survive that. Like, you had hardly any health prior to being supered. You literally have probably one single pixel of health left. And an additional. And this is where his raw dominance and power comes in. The fact that he crits on all of his attacks in one turn. Guaranteed. This is not even his best rotation. So hitting almost a 2 million crit, and he done that twice, by the way, is very good. Obviously, this is a little bit more suited. He looks a lot better with the GT Super Saiyan Vegeta than he does, of course, SSJ3 Vegetas. Unfortunately, we can't save the Dokkan attack. In fact, can we save the Dokkan attack? We can't, so I might as well just got the Super with SSJ4 Vegeta. This could easily go incredibly wrong if we don't manage to kill Kalba here. But I think we should do enough. Actually, no, we're guaranteed going to do enough damage, because not only is Super Saiyan GT Vegeta's damage output pretty good, he has type advantage, and he's going to be hitting Cab with a Dokkan attack. It's a shame I couldn't save it. It's a shame that I couldn't save it, get the Dokkan attack on the final phase, because Rose is on there, who I know is a Fizz type, and then have Vegeta's active come off, and then put him in slot 1 and like use a Whis, because then Vegeta would have just done insane amounts of damage. On Zamasu as well, but potentially Rose might have been crit if I could do all that, but obviously that isn't possible. 1, because we wouldn't have been able to get the active off immediately, and 2, obviously we just had the Dokkan attack there, but as I said, his dominance is just so impressive. I don't think a lot of units in the game can do this. I might go Whis, because the type disadvantage with that Vegeta at the end, even though he is rainbowed, which by the way, rainbowed, he's actually really good. I really do like him rainbowed. Is really impressive. Hopefully we can stun Rose, but we need to get an additional. I'm actually not going to attack Rose with Super Vegetas. I keep going to call him Super Vegeta and Jeets at the same time, so I keep saying Super Vegetas. I don't mean to. I'm actually going to go for attacking Zamasu so we can get that guaranteed stun off. And that's another thing. That's why I do think the only kind of bonus or kind of advantage Super Vegeta has in SBR and ESBR is the fact that you can stun. Which that only really kind of edges him in this event. Because obviously it doesn't mean he's bad. We've seen him in Fight and Legend Vegeta event, and as I said, he was dominant in an event, like throughout the entirety of the whole event. Pure dominant. The only thing that gives him some advantage in here is the fact that you can stun. You can fully take advantage of his full kit, whereas, you know, while you're still, you know, doing everything else he can do in like Goku event and Vegeta event being the longer events, you can't stun there. Whereas here you can. So that is literally the tiny... That's where he edges it in here, like literally just barely edges it in here. We still have a Whis active, so slot 1 here is fine. Also, we can stun Rose, which actually helps the GT Super Saiyan Vegeta, which is good. And then also that SSJ3, I was gonna say Goku there, definitely not. Vegeta at the end also has type advantage against Zamasu, so that helps. We also have full health, which is another good thing. And that's another thing you take advantage of. When you have a Whis active or type advantage, Vegeta can sit comfy in slot 1. You can maximize his damage output by receiving an attack first, because you have the Whis to kind of cover him, give him some damage reduction before he gets hit. Gets the additional attack and defense plus 50% for receiving an attack. Got even more defensive coverage, good to go, tanking double digits. Then super attacks, has his, you know, gets the other attack and defense plus 50%. He's completely good to go to tank for the rest of the turn. But I said this while I was doing the Fight and Legend Vegeta video. I see a few people, you know, I see a few people put him in slot 1 regardless. And then sometimes I'm like, I get it, because then, as I said, you can maximize. I said this in the Vegeta video, the Fight and Legend Vegeta video as well. You can maximize his damage output and, you know, and his defensive output by putting him in slot 1. But it can be slightly risky. That is one of his major downsides, obviously, because you need at least one of those additional. We actually got the stun off with SSJ3 Vegeta. That's perfect. That means both Zamasu and Rose are going to be stunned this time. It's actually worked out really well for us, like really well. Additional? No additional, unfortunately. Again, we're kind of good to go because Rose is stunned because we got the stun with SSJ3 Vegeta off. I'm gonna... This may seem like a waste, but I'm gonna pop an Eta and get extra defense just so Jeets can tank, just in case. Just in case. The attack from one of the attacks from Zamasu ends up being a super, because again, this is what I was saying about putting him in slot 1, like all the time. Yes, you can maximize both damage and defensive output, which I said putting him in slot 1, putting him in slot 2 instead is a lot safer, you know, and losing a little bit of the damage output he has, purely because he crits on all attacks in one turn anyway, so you're not really losing out on much. That's how much damage he does. But you know, that's you put him in slot 1, it's a little bit risky, and I said that's one of his only downsides, because he doesn't have any of the additional attack and defense plus 50% in slot 1, because you need him to be hit or super attack first to get one of them, and that extra padding really does help. Like, we've seen it in the Vegeta event, one basic attack like on one of the latter stages, which could probably be the same thing said for here as well. Let's get that active off. Will probably be the same thing said here as well, which we haven't really seen, lucky enough. But taking damage on a basic, if I remember rightly, in the Vegeta event, it was like 80-90k, which will probably be the same for here. And that's before he gets any additional attack and defense from his passive. So that's why when I see some people just put him in slot 1 all the time, no item, I'm like, yeah, I get you're going to be maximizing his damage, and then he's going to be able to tank everything after that. But imagine he gets super attack first. That is he's going to be taking so much damage. And as I said before, that is one of the only downsides he has, is the fact that you need him to get one of those additional attack and defenses plus 50% before receiving an attack for him to tank as well as he does. Which is not difficult to get off. As I said, you put him in slot 2, slot 3, he's completely fine. Because then you'll have the one for super attacking, and then he receives an attack. And if a super attack ends up coming his way, he's going to be tanking it as good as he can be. SJ3 Vegeta coming up clutch with the stuns right now. Super Vegeta is not even needed for his stuns, but he's going to do big damage right now because he's got that extra 60% attack from his passive. And Rose is literally a literal tickle away from being dead, which we're going to pick up here. But as I said, and I knew it exactly it would be, I knew it would work like this. Just sheer dominance in one of the harder events in the game. Just like the Fighting Legend Vegeta event, just sheer dominance. The only thing that you can utilize here that of course you can't in Goku and Vegeta event is the stun, which can come in handy. You can literally work your rotations around him stunning because he's guaranteed to stun for that one turn, which we did throughout there. It actually saves not only him potentially with like type disadvantage with like the Freezer or the Frost from like the Universe 6 phase. You can actually help other units out and stop them from taking like a decent amount of damage and work your turns or your rotations around him stunning. So I mean, as I said, just sheer dominance again. I'm so impressed with him and I'm so happy I got him. Let me know what you think about his performance down in the comments. I'll see you next video, guys. Peace.